that they want to be skipped, and then everybody is also welcome to be here and not speak or not have their camera on or start speaking at any moment. I just wanted to say this. Sorry.
Thank you. For sure, yes. And I just wanted also to ask you if it's okay for everybody if we record this edition. It's for our archive and just for the purposes of archiving the events of ANTISEZONA. So again, I'm Silvia. I'm sitting in my kitchen. As I mentioned before, it is Saturday. Probably it's going to rain. The clouds are pretty dark outside. There are two more people in my apartment, my daughter and my partner. They are in different, I'm in the kitchen, one is in one room and the other is in the other room. So it may occur that some of them will pass through the kitchen also if they get hungry. And I would like now to invite Tara, to pass it on to Tara to say something.
So that's the format. Well, I am Tara. I'm also in my apartment in the only room that is not the bathroom. So it is my kitchen, my sleeping room, my living room, my what's it called, the hall before you enter the actual rooms of the apartment. But it works well. Behind me is my couch. I have a ukulele there. What else? I am alone. Nobody's gonna pass me by. Sorry, I'm being very reactive, Sylvia, to what you said. It felt inspirational. Beside me, I have a beer glass, but it has water, and another mug where I have tea. So that was my preparation. I have some paper here and a pen for notes, so that I can still have the screen with all of you and still make notes rather than opening on my computer and losing you. What else? Nothing. I had no idea that it was going to rain, and today when I went out to buy some supplies because I was low, I was a little bit shocked at this relaxation of the measures. I was like, it's almost normal, kind of. I don't know, there were people and they weren't so worried about who's passing next to them and how close. And I was like, huh. I didn't know what to feel about it, but I noticed it. Yeah, other than that, I don't know. I'm a visual artist. I draw, I write, I take photos, and in the usual format of the ANTISEZONA, I document the event by taking photos. That's about it. And I invite anyone who wants to go next.
Maybe I can say hi. I'm Vera. I live in Brussels. What you see behind me are my plants, and some books and some boxes. Yeah, I'm alone in the apartment, and I have been for the last 6 weeks. My flatmate left back to Montreal. Yeah, I might join a bit more in a more like observer position. I feel like I've been doing stuff all day. I would love to be a bit more passive, if this is allowed, sort of passive viewer. I know Sonia, this is how I ended up in this group. We met 10 years ago, Sonia, in something called Koyoro, like a project where we were basically like, yeah, I mean, very much the opposite to what most of us are doing right now. We were like flying all over Europe, doing little projects in European capitals. It seems very odd now. It seems a long time ago, but this is how I met Sonia. And yeah, I guess this is why I'm here. She invited me, so thank you. And yeah, maybe Varinia, she's underneath my,
Yes.
your image is underneath mine.
He's your neighbor.
My neighbor, yeah.
Yes, yes.
My Zoom neighbor.
So yes, I know Vera and I know Sonia. I know Vera from the dance world in Brussels because I'm lived in Belgium for 24 years, and I met Sonia in a project in Germany, and I am now a bit in between two countries, Santiago and Europe. Don't know if Brussels, but Europe. I consider myself a migrant that ended up with feeling homesick, and so I'm trying to be more in Santiago, to be with my parents that are kind of really old, so I want to spend time with them a bit. And so I find myself in this problematic of work versus heart and emotions, and because somehow I still manage to connect them, or life quality, or like affective affection life. So I'm a lot in now, so I came here for some projects and they all went to the bin with the corona. We are on the curve up. We are really not, we're really pretty far from the peak, and we have a right-wing government that it's already opening up the malls, the shopping center, and is obliging people to go to work. So I'm kind of just waiting for the catastrophe to come, hopefully not like United States. But I have the luxury, because in this neoliberal country, the most neoliberal of the world, it's all about privileges. So I have the privilege to be in a place by myself, and to not have to go out to work and be exposed to the virus. And so yes, this is it. I'm in a very pessimistic moment, but at the same time, you know, I do meditation, I do yoga, and I try to work on myself and all those things. So I'm happy that in your countries things are going better. And I don't know until when I'm gonna be locked in this situation, because the way we go, I don't know how long it's gonna last, because also the winter is coming, and so it's gonna get worse, no? So I stopped talking and I passed the word to Anna Kreit-Meyer.
Hi, Anna. Wow, you impressed me a bit. I'm still like in echo of what you said. Yeah, I was lying down on my sofa. I'm from Zagreb. And I felt in a way I will go back in this position. It was strange. It was in a way very comfortable. I'm never sitting like this and talking to people. This is really like weird. And it's very silent in my apartment, which is also something different. My daughter and my partner, they went out for 1 hour or something like that. So it's really like totally different space. I can hear silence, which is really not so often. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is it. Okay. Now I can just shift to anyone who wants to say something now.
Okay, I think I can continue. So basically, as hearing you all, I think I'm the only one that has like a police hour in the country. And that is a funny one because we don't have the possibility to go out on the weekends, starting from Friday at 5 p.m. until the Monday at 5 p.m. 5 a.m. Sorry. So basically, during this period of it's like month and a half, where our government introduced the measures for prevention of the spreading of the virus, there was like a lot of shifting between decisions and blah 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 blah. But the thing that I did to save myself from really feeling numb or like sort of distracted of the regular work that I already been doing, like dance or exercising or stuff like that. I managed to reduce the I would say the flow of the information, the constant flow on a daily basis, which was too much for, I think it's too much for every person to just fill in all of the information in the head. And sort of my mood during this month and a half was super optimistic, which is not the case before that. Before the even virus started, I'm not an optimistic person so much, but super optimistic about getting something better out of people with this kind of global pause or global state of the stillness. I will call it the stillness. So for now, I turned my room into a studio, and I managed to work with people which I originally work in holding dance classes in Belgrade, contemporary dance. And basically, by focusing on other people and working on helping them, I also managed to help myself to just stay in the same mental game with what I want to do, and just adapt or adjust small details regarding the virus, but also just cutting a lot of information to prevent the getting sick, mentally sick, really. So yeah, that is it.
I'm Ivan Irina. I'm from Zagreb, and I work with Anna, Silvia, and Sonia on this program, ANTISEZONA, and on many other things, luckily. So I'm sitting in my room, one of 5 rooms in my house. And actually I'm looking now, so I have the window there and the window there and the big doors there. But this part is actually my office, and I'm staring now. I'm looking at this one board and another board with all the passwords for different accounts and this like timetables, all the budgets and other things, and my notes of different meetings and thinking in this last few days, what is it all about? And all this like going on with the preparations and business and with plannings and with applications. Is that what I should be doing now, or should I be doing something else? Is that denial or some kind of focus, bridging focus, and things like that? I have many people in my apartment, my family, and it's great because in a way we are orientated to each other, and my children are almost adults, so in a way it is this special given time to, in this time before they are going to go in their own lives, to connect. On the other side, it gets really wrong to keep them together, and now when they have to be out and about. And what else? Yes, I have almost empty cup of white coffee, and this is it from my side now.
I'm Mary. I'm sitting in Liverpool in England. And I was thinking while I was listening to you, like, why do I keep coming back to these events happening in Croatia? Besides, you know, that I'm interested in what you're doing and I like what you're doing. But then when you were talking about touring and that's sort of not what any of us is doing right now, then I thought, oh yeah, maybe there's something about, you know, the touring and the kind of memory of recent touring that is also comforting somehow. I'm thinking about the way that I'm orienting myself as a freelancer. It's always, you know, planning the future, you know, but it's like a medium future, 6 months ahead. And I can't do that right now. So I'm trying to understand, how do I orient myself? I have the like immediate present, and then I can dream about what it might be like later. But there's no planning really. And I've been doing a lot of online trauma therapy. I've been training the last 3 years also in trauma therapy. And it's strange because it really fits the moment, because it's about what is moving when you're not moving. So I'm doing a lot of sitting and looking at my computer with someone on the other side of my computer and describing the internal movement, tracking. So that's strange. I mean, I'm still also trying to do some dancing, but I would say that the other thing I'm doing more of right now, which is strange. So the whole, what is moving when I'm not moving. I can see my cat and my plants, and I can see all the things that I bought for my cat that she won't use because she's a cute little asshole. She won't use anything I bought her. Yeah, that's all from me right now.
So I am Sonia. My hands are sweaty, which tells me I'm nervous. And I'm nervous because I guess I'm performing, but I'm also like not performing. I'm also like witnessing to being alive and out of control. And yeah, I don't know why I wanted to say that, but I wanted to say that. Maybe because I wanted to say something about my room, but maybe I will calm down with that. I was thinking about what Varinia was talking about the privilege, or about I lived and worked between Zagreb and also Berlin, but I was thinking about like the privilege, the disadvantage, and the privilege of coming from Zagreb, and it being like a very local, rather poor, not global cultural capital, which means that what we are doing right now is like self-organized, self-curated, self-given importance. That's probably why I'm nervous. And at the same time, this is also the reason why we are doing it. because we have done it, we have made it and produced it. And yet, once we did, we're still opening up this frame of vulnerability. And I'm like, fuck, I'm having conversations a lot with myself at home these days of like, what is that? Why do I need that? Or why do I do that? Because and I have a question about that, about like safety and vulnerability. So I will speak about it later. I'm sitting in a room of a flat that I live in. There are 2 dogs sleeping around me. My partner is with her earphones doing work. And I'm drinking wine from this glass that I'm going to get drunk from, but I'm going to use it to time. So this is going to be the time keeper. And I'll probably get drunk. And I am wearing a costume. It's pretty uncomfortable. And the costume is from a piece I've done 7 years ago, which was called Sequel for the Future, Dance in 2043, where I've been working with my Bulgarian friend and collaborator, Vili Prager. And we have tried to predict the future of dance in 30 years. And the prerequisite of the project was that we fail, therefore we can work. And this is a homemade crinoline, and I guess what I know about it right now, that I was like, so let's bear the weight of the past. I don't know for what else reason am I wearing this costume. Yeah, and behind me there's a cupboard with like all the other costumes from all the other performances that we have done so far. Yeah, that's it. And I have to keep on speaking. No, Anna.
I see Jasna, or Jasna is also here. Now I looked around the people, so hi Jasna.
I don't see Jasna.
Yeah, Jasna is maybe there to go
Scroll.
around. So Jasna, if you want to introduce yourself or say a word, there is a space.
I'm probably in the end of this line. My name is Jasna. I'm a colleague of Silvia, and I also work as a choreographer and have a small art organization. And I'm trying to somehow be active in a field of like new technologies and children performances. This is something I found as some kind of niche that I do. But I'm interested in all kinds of performances. So that's something. I mean, I'm interested in everything. That's the problem. I would like to somehow see and have a feeling of all kinds of dances. I'm not actually excluding something from the dance repertoire. So, well, I'm here. I'm a little bit older than you. I think I'm a generation before you, and also I had some memories of the things that I did that you probably learned as a history, but I was present at the time. So it's a kind of sometimes burden, and sometimes is a good thing to know all those things. So sorry, that's all about me. So we can continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now I will give a short introduction of the role, like the frame that we will now go in. So we will have a slot of 5 minutes. Sonia will measure with the sound, we will have like orientation of the time. And we all have like 5 minutes to share something that you brought here, or you want to now bring in. And when you share this material or idea or something, whatever you have, you pose a question. And that question will be like invitation to somebody of us that we just go in, and then we shift, and then it's my slot and my 5 minutes. And everybody who has desire, like to answer the question, this is invitation. Are we, I mean, am I clear, or somebody wants to add something? Girls, Sonia, Sylvia.
I mean, this is our proposal for the game. This is how we invited you to come up with something which is like your account of where you are in a question. I will be the timekeeper, and I will do the wine glass sound after 5 minutes, which is just for you to know. It's not a obligation to stop.
Yeah, and there I find if you don't want to participate actively, it's fine to observe, and maybe there will be like, call for you and you will, participate in some way or not. It's fine, totally. Mm-hmm. I like it. Mm-hmm. Okay, we can open.
Yeah? Shall I open?
Yeah.
Um, so there is another one of my dancers. This is a bigger one. Wow, about the question. I have so many questions at the moment. So there is one actually observation that keeps really it keeps standing here around me, and I just don't can't really find the way how to go through it, and it's something to do actually with the performing of or choreographing practice, and with something where we are now, and this is this combination or this relation of time and space. And so the question is, it's not a question, it's just a maybe topic or a question, I don't know. How when it's now this is really I'm trying to get articulated. Now when the space, the distance is actually taken away, how the perception of experience of time is totally different. And the question it is maybe how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the, do you feel the shift in perception of time, and where is the space in it? Something like that. It's very open and unarticulated. Thank you.
So one more time, the question was that do we feel the shift between the time and also the space? Maybe not in correlation, but because I didn't heard very well, I heard only the last sentence, but it's regarding the shifting. How do we perceive the time in another way, same as the space?
Yes, because we don't go out, because we don't travel, because I always felt the time, experiencing the time through the space, through the distances, and space through the time. Now when everything is here and I don't go anywhere, I totally lost the perception, my perception of I have to relearn how to experience the time. It's different. So how is it for you, considering losing the possibility to travel and to go from A to B, to experience your body in moving through the space?
So for me, it was not much of a change, in a way that most of the time I was also doing similar stuff, but the space where I was doing that has changed, because you needed to stay in your at your home, and it's like the tracking of the days is lost, because you don't have or I don't have the need to like be somewhere on Sunday or a specific day, because now we have, especially here in Serbia, because of the police hour, we have like they shaped how our time will be spent. So basically, it's like having a work, but the work is to be free in a way, to have like that is how I accepted it, because you have like a time where it is like 12 hours where you can do all the necessary stuff which are possible to do only for 5 days during the week. And it's like for now only the whole I'm going to say the whole task schedule was less and less filled, because I only see myself like having exercise, having sun, eating, and still having like 2 or 3 jobs that I need to finish. So it's not the time and the space didn't change so much that I acknowledge it drastically. So maybe I was a little bit going away from the question, but in a way the conclusion is that still the same or mostly the same like working hours or giving yourself in the same certain way is happening to me while being at home. So that's the interesting part for me. So I think that I continue now, and yeah, maybe I should just start. What you hear is my parrot, so don't be. He's not the part of the plan, but maybe he will become. So my question will be, if some of you felt the need to just stop of all the advices that mostly we were giving, like to improve yourself or to make a big choices like changing or shifting to some other things to do, or continuous reading, watching movies, watching internet materials, just overflowing your brain with the current material that most of us are presented now. Good timing.
So I would like to propose a group exercise that we will all do together. So under the same format that Tara, no, it was not Tara, it was, who was it? I don't have, yeah, Sylvia. Sylvia, when she presented herself, she said, and now I pass the word to, and so this is the format. But the idea is that let's try to move a bit, not too much, but a bit.
Do what?
Move.
Ah.
You can do movement now. Just small gestures, ¿vale? So I would like to try this because in my previous piece, I worked a lot around the idea of distance and proximity. Okay. So the idea is that we move a bit, and that I say, Tara, I have a distance in a color of pullover or a color of hair. And then Tara goes and she says, Anna, or no, Sylvia, I have a proximity of place of work. Oh, so some people know each other. I don't know anybody, so I can pick up things of the room or of the hair or nationalities of name or whatever I can see in the image. So you take any information you can get out of the image, because I don't know anybody. I know Sonia and I know Vera, ¿vale? But the rest I don't know. So the image can be the surrounding, can be color of hair, skin, all those things, and also can be gestures. So if we add gestures and everybody move, maybe someone will have fists, and I say, Mary, I have a proximity in gestures. And then Mary will say, Davis. You understood? Yes?
I'm not sure on the term of proximity. What do you mean by it?
Everything. Proximity and distance can be geographic, it can be ideological, it can be mental, it can be emotional, it can be a similarity of hair, it can be everything you would like to put inside. If you're in the same city, you could say, I have a proximity of 2 kilometers, but with me we have 14,000. I don't know, like stuff like that.
So you're relating to something that is close to you or not close to you.
Yeah, close, but English-wise, I thought I'm close to, it's a bit strange. So that's why proximity and distance.
Yeah, okay.
Let's try it. Shall I start? Yes? Okay.
Yeah, keep on moving.
Yeah, if you want, if it helps to give information to the others. Yeah, it could be just a position or, so I will start. Yasna, I have a proximity on the amount of pictures in the wall, in my back wall. So I repeat it. Yasna, I have a proximity in the amount of pictures in my back wall.
Right. Tara, I have a proximity to the light, which is in front of me.
Speaking of light, I am in proximity of Nemanja, who has his light from above, as I do.
And I'm in proximity as away from my computer, like most of us do. So we can choose who's going to be next.
Mary, I'm in proximity with your floral pattern that was just now in the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Mm. Let's see here. Well, Sylvia, I'm connecting my window through your window. And making the distance between the window in Liverpool to the window in Zagreb.
There I have a proximity from my fingers toward your wrists.
Anna, I have a proximity between what I can see through my hands onto the leaves on your screen.
Yasna, I have, you disappear to me. I am here, Yasna. I have the distance between my hands, and you had some kind of a frame a second ago.
Can you repeat it? I didn't quite understand because it stopped a little bit.
You had a frame, so
right.
Yeah, I just connected to that frame of yours with your arms.
Right. And I'm sending this frame to Vera, who started this small window from which we can see each other. So I'm connecting to Vera and her small window.
Eva, I'm dropping something into your frame. Oh, sorry, I've changed the task. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's great.
Classic.
But Eva is not under you in my screen, but it's okay.
Eva, you're under my screen and I'm dropping something into yours.
Trying to push my screen myself out, and I'm trying to get into Anna's screen to touch her hair now and to see how actually Anna's hair is long. Which I haven't, yeah, is it long? Is mine now? Or is it not very long? And Anna is on this side.
I have a distance in between my object and Sonia's object. I have desire to put even more and more in my frame.
Varinya, I have a distance 5 minutes and a little bit over from the time when your task, your timing was supposed to start. So
I have to
an
say
obligation.
that I enjoyed watching everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to put a question in the room, Varinia.
I have to put a question?
If you want.
Okay, the question I'm dealing a lot because I don't know how long this is gonna last. So I am struggling a lot with the sensation that my expertise has vanished. There's no audience nowadays. We don't have audience, so there's no audience. And when there's no audience and there's no theater, at least in my case, I don't know how to make art. I'm most of all a dancer, and I do my creations without much recognition, and I'm not making career out of it. But anyways, I don't have audience. There's no audience, so I don't know how to work. Apart from maybe writing applications, I don't know how to be creative because I don't have a place to actualize my expertise, and I have difficulties to do these performances online. So by sharing this exercise, at least I found out that I like to watch you all while I was doing it. So in a way, it somehow maybe gave me an answer to in what way we can be together. And I mean, we mainly made the full, but at least let's start with the full. Then we see how we can get into more serious art. But for the moment, it was a pleasure to do and watch each other because we don't have audience. We lost it.
I think I have a reply, and it's funny because I couldn't think of anything, but then when you all started, I thought of something, and I wrote to a friend of mine, and I'm just gonna post into the chat what I wrote to her, and I think it's the title of it is "What is Essential Now,"
and I'll put, do you all see where the chat is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll, wait, I just need to find it in my emails. Wait, come here. Okay. So, whoop. Okay, I can't see the whole thing, but I just press send. Let's hope this works. Maybe you can read it? I can read it. Okay, what is essential now? How to create now my artistic practice. And then I refer to performing, dancing, embodying, thinking around my work. Is suspended, a reality that echoes, connects, but also divides people around the globe. If you are coined an essential worker, these are trying times, as the luxury of suspension I mentioned does not include you. After some weeks of finishing jobs, sewing masks, I started to feel that I'm ready to formulate something, to find a way of thinking that embraces past thinking, touches on current thinking, and dares to be in company and the multiplicity and uncertainty that surrounds future thinking, which touch being at stake in the crisis. I think that looking at the language that comes up in relation to my work could be of interest. So yeah, I had this crisis, what you mentioned too, Varinia. And there was one moment like about 2 weeks ago where I suddenly felt I had something, and I stuck with language for a bit. Yeah, but this is my reply. And in what way, which mediums you consider language, or
sorry, like I just basically like I started to create sort of visual poetry. So yeah, I've been arranging these texts, and in an odd way, there's something for me. There's been something very comforting. Like it's sort of in retrospect, because it's also a lot what collaborators have written to me. And I'm busy with sort of moving these words around, and I relate them to graphics that relate to floor plans or creations I've done. And yeah, it's something that I would have never thought of doing. And it's oddly, how should I say, it's oddly meditative and and pleasurable. And yeah, but I was also really stuck for some time. Also, like I said, I work a lot with touch. And I think for the foreseeable future, my work is going to be clearly suspended, but also, you know, maybe it's also needed to keep on thinking about touch. And maybe I need to try to hold on to this moment where we have this knowledge on touch from the past and sort of make something of it, so it can still be there if anybody wants it, you know, while it is maybe not essential in that sort of thing, like the essential worker right now. Yeah.
Can I say something that maybe relates to the fact that you're deprived of touch and that it relates so much with your work? Just a little thing. Can I say? No, I feel those that are single, and that it relates like obliquely to what to say, but those that are single and that they were living in a kind of non-couple world. I don't know, I have a feeling we're living a time where we are super isolated, where we don't have connection to anybody. And once this is over, the value of connection or sharing your life with someone or touch or proximity will gain so much force that we will be re-enchanted by it, and it will get even more valuable. So this is just to say. So this is just to say about this touch thing. Yeah. Can I pass it on to somebody, or how does it work? Shall I pass on to maybe to Mary?
I'm not ready.
They already have a question, maybe, and then somebody who feels like answering a question would.
Yeah. I mean, continuing maybe on the topic.
you know, what is essential for you now? Like this question that I had when I was writing to my friend, what is essential for you?
I'm a little confused now. Are you asking this question
I think
to anybody?
I pass it to anybody who wants to. I can also, if it isn't appealing to anybody, I can also reframe. I mean,
Okay,
it's a very appealing question. Just leave it in the room. It's nice.
Okay.
Thank you. I would like to start maybe from what you were saying about your practice being suspended, and also to share my feeling about, but keeping in mind your question, what is essential now? Because I have a lot of trouble these days thinking about my practice being suspended, as you say, because in the beginning of this, in the beginning of today's session, we were saying that our country is now getting in the phase of relaxation of the measurements, of the measures, and this relaxation are all, of course, oriented towards economy, towards education, towards bringing in the normality again in the society, and it of course never mentions anything about culture, arts, or none to mention even dance practice, of course, and gives me a feeling of being marginalized even more than usual. And also in the beginning of the crisis, I had a massive breakdown when I realized that this, what we do, it's not going to be in focus for a very, very long time. So it's not something that it's going to last as long as the major crisis lasts, but much further longer, or it's going to be pushed aside even more than it's usual, even though there is much more knowledge in the practice that we are doing that could help people in these situations broader than usual. What Mary, you were saying about giving the therapy that you are doing nowadays, I'm sure that it's also connected with your somatic practice that you usually do, or with your dance also. It's not just you being therapist via words. So this paradox of having the knowledge or having the practice, which is very needed in this world that we are living now, and then again being pushed so much aside, is, for me, it's very painful, to be honest. And what is essential for me now is to keep on this feeling of not losing my identity in a way. What I realized that I'm thinking a lot in the last month, I've been thinking a lot about past. Like, I'm now 45 and I'm thinking a lot about me being 15 or me being in the 20s. It's like the part of my life where I constructed my identity, when I started to be who I am now. It's like this part of my life has been abolished now all of a sudden, and I'm also it also has to do something that some old traumas from my life are being refreshed and rebounced again. The trauma of the 90s and the war, the trauma of me having a massive injury when I was 25, when I was lying down for 2 years, or things like that. So, and I was thinking a lot, I don't want to go so much into this, but but this is something that is just occurring or happening, that I'm starting to think or to feel like I used to feel 25 years ago, and I'm super shocked because I forgot about it. And now all of a sudden it's there again. And it's also in a way pleasant, and it's also in a way enjoyable to reconnect with these old parts of myself, even though it's painful and it's through trauma, but it has also something nice in it. Yes, and essential for me is to keep the continuity of who I am. This would be essential. Besides keeping also continuity of the community around, which also brings us back now to this ANTISEZONA project. This is an effort in keeping on the community and keeping on the work and keeping on the contact. And I remember 2 weeks ago, Sonia had her performance, and then afterwards she said, I'm not sure if it happened in a conversation straight away after or later on, Sonia said something about her having again the feeling of being a dancer. Probably didn't say that in these words, but I remembered it in these terms, like you practicing, you performing in your living room gave you again the feeling of being in the practice. Coming back also to you, Varinia, what you were saying, I don't have audience, I'm lacking my medium, I don't know how to share what I do. It is really, yeah, it's a big question. It's a big question. Who are we when this is abolished, when this is not there anymore? I had to share two different things. One would be a dance, and the other one would be a story. And I think I'm already quite long in time with my answering this question. So maybe I'll start with a story. I have here a magazine, Elle, an April edition. And it was on the, I think it was on the 23rd of March that I went to kiosk and bought it. I was really shocked that the kiosk was open, because at that time I was thinking that everything is paralyzed and nothing is normal anymore. I was out maybe for the first time after a few days, and I went to kiosk and I had this urge to somehow to prove to myself that there is a normality. I think this is the first number of Elle that I ever bought in my life. So it's not something, buying glossy magazines doesn't belong to my normality at all. But somehow I had a great urge to be comfort somehow, and not to be in crisis and not to be in this everyday. And it was the day after the earthquake also in Zagreb. And so I bought this Elle, and it happens to be that one of our close also collaborators, she writes for Elle, she's one of the editors, and therefore probably it was Elle and not Cosmopolitan or something else. And then I went through this you know, this magazine. You see, there is also a story about ballet dancers in Zagreb, how they. It is all before the lockdown, so it's the number for the April, which I feel so paradoxical that they made it in March, of course, before they knew that in April everything will be closed. So this magazine doesn't exist actually. It's an April edition for people in lockdown, and you can go through it and see the clothes that you are supposed to wear in April and the makeup style that you are supposed to wear in April. I didn't put any makeup on my face for 6 weeks or something, and usually before I was putting makeup every day. Not much, but there is an article about Billie Eilish on tour, which is probably cancelled by now. So it's really having a piece of a world of non-existing world in my hands. There's something so bizarre about it. I really love it. I think I will keep it. And I remember reading it through that day, which was really a day of pain and crisis. And then I wrote to this collaborator of ours, her name is Anna. I wrote her a message. I bought myself Elle magazine. Thank you so much for this comfort that you gave me today. I was so grateful that Elle exists in this world, even though I know it's trivia. And even, of course, I'm aware of all the repercussions that it has. I mean, of course, but yeah. I think I'll skip my dance and I'll go on to the question. And my question is, do you have the sensation of this period of being a discontinuation in your life, or how do you deal with this, with the continuity of you and this period of being suspended with what you do? This is my question.
I have some response in relation also to what you said about the feelings from your 20s and the continuity that way. And I think there's something I'm noticing about the, like, how lifestyle or habits in lifestyle can be like a manifestation of orientation and survival strategies, like how do I feel good moving around in the world, or what expertise, what tools, what interests do I have? And something about that just cutting or suspending, like you say, I feel the continuity goes kind of like inward. And so I've also been reconnecting with things that I haven't done for 20 years. And really being like, what? I'm still that person? That person's gone, you know? And it's really strange. I watched a film yesterday about Elliot Smith. I lived in Portland in the 90s, 1999. And I felt such a strong connection again with this 20-year-old self and this environment from the 90s. So that's, for me, interesting that somehow this container around me that is keeping the movement, which is so much, the movement is so much a part of my survival strategy and my orientation. I go here on Thursday and then I go there, and then in the summer I move around and I get on trains, and I, you know, it's so much part of how I manage myself and orient in the world. And now the movement is having to happen in a really smaller space and even backwards in time or inside. Yeah, so I really can relate with what you say there.
I would also actually want to add to what you're saying, Mary, but also to what you said, Sylvia. Actually, I feel like I have a response to everything that has been said so far, but I won't respond to everything. Oh, wow. I mean, even before this lockdown and this whole situation, one of the topics that I was thinking about, I was living my day to day and making my art, was the topic of how relational it is, how much what I do, how I do it, why I do it is informed by the things around me. In a way, my topic before the lockdown was how to not necessarily minimize this influence, but how to see which parts are because of an environment and which parts are, let's say, an intrinsic part of my interest and desire to make things or be in a certain way. But on the other hand, I also had this issue of how do you see these things? How do you see what is your, you know, how do you divide? How do you see all the layers that are all mushed together and make you up as a person? And when this lockdown happened, something interesting happened to me. My experience was similar to yours, Mary, in the sense that old parts of me and Sylvia began resurfacing, and I was like, really, you're still here? You're still I mean, in some ways, I was aware of this before, because, for example, if I would take an old art piece, some old drawings that I made literally 15, 17 years ago, somehow I would be able to go back to the moment when I drew them. And I was like, I understand this drawing. It's naive. It doesn't look good. I still think it looks good, actually, because they were good drawings for when I was 13. But I could go back to that place. But what I didn't anticipate is that this sort of extreme situation would bring me back to that place in an active way, where I'm like, I don't know, it's okay, I'm jumping a little bit, but I was also thinking about how I actually wouldn't have gotten to performance and dance on my own. It had to be an outside source that piqued my interest. And in that sense, that interest of mine is very relational, whereas drawing, kind of writing, being in my own mind is completely unrelated to, I mean, it's not completely, but it's kind of like these are the things that surface on their own when other elements are removed. And I've been observing this situation also in this sort of like, okay, so now that these elements are removed, what is pronounced? And what is pronounced are things that just didn't have place in my day-to-day before this situation. In the way I feel like I'm turning back into an amoeba, because developmentally I had this feeling of I left this behind, you know. Why would I be still interested in things that I was interested when I was a teenager, you know? But it's like, oh, I guess it's still here doing something, you know. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. And connecting to that thought, my question would be, I've been also observing what are the habits that resurface and what are the new habits that form, whether they are old habits that came back or new habits that you know, got created in this situation. So my question would be, what are they? How do you feel about them? Is it something familiar or is it something new? In a sense, maybe this semi-controversial of question of, did you get used to it? Did you get used to the situation? Because when I went out today, I was like, but you know, kind of, but I got used to kind of walking kind of far away from people, and it suddenly everyone is kind of being leisurely in the store, and I'm like, but I also, so for me this habit was like, but maybe I don't like this habit of being used to like doing this to other people. So yeah, the question of habits and this situation.
Well, I didn't say anything, but I can relate actually to everything what is said from the beginning. I must say I'm not dancing for a long period of time, and actually my creation depends on other people dancing for me, and I just somehow influence them to make a work, and not having some kind of connections to the dancers is kind of stopping my my continuity and things that I would like to do and work. and also, but also that is somehow bringing me back, as Sylvia said, to the beginning of my of my dancing experience and my dancing time, somehow being only oriented to myself. I felt an urge that I would like to feel as I felt before as a dancer, to have some kind of connection with this part of my entity. And the thing is, I'm as well coming to the real myself, and somehow I'm much more, I'm coming back to the some kind of my own reality, my own self, going back inside. Actually, this is what everybody said, and it's really interesting that those things still exist in us, and this kind of lacking outside influences are very good for somehow purging your inside feelings. Well, I can relate to Narina, and somehow when she started this whole conversation, it was very nice, those small small figures moving. I really liked the one that was standing on the laying down figure, and I actually had the thought at that moment that yes, having being somewhere in time for me means also being somewhere in space. And when I had this online like teaching hours or conversation, every time when I finished, I have a feeling I was somewhere. Although I wasn't moving from my house, I had a feeling I went somewhere. So this kind of space and time connection is very much interwoven, and you can somehow say, okay, I don't have to move as long as I have kind of connections and with other people. And it's also actually, what was the question? I somehow drifted away. But the question was getting used to things. Yes, you can get used. I am somehow used to that. My time is stretching very much, and it takes me much longer time to do some things which usually I did in a very short period. And it was very strange when I thought how I was living before that, and how it was possible that I managed so many things. Now the day starts and it ends in a moment. It's very very unusual feeling, and yes, you can get used to this as well. You can get used to just having a mask and avoiding people, and the only thing is how it will actually affect us, because we can't have a lot of audience. We have to somehow smaller our certain part of parts of people that are working it. Also, how much people, also what Sylvia said, how much people would feel it is really important to have a kind of connection with somebody, a kind of touch, a kind of somehow physical help, or is it enough just to hear hear somebody, or just to have to see something from outside, not to be really involved in the process or in the work. What actually I would like to share is at the beginning of this crisis, there was a lot of dancing performances, a lot of arts in the Facebook, and I looked at everything. So I watched this and that, and I really had an opportunity to go to the performances and to see companies that I wouldn't see, but somehow this urge for sharing our work and seeing all the performances diminished, because somehow this kind of waiting state came in a it came back to me in a kind of waiting for some kind of outside impulses that will come to me, and I wouldn't somehow look for them. So I wasn't interested anymore in watching performances. I somehow stopped participating in any kind of like these conferences. And the question is, if a hairdresser is so important, where is the art there? So that is a question I'm passing to other people.
Okay. I guess I will try to say something to this question. And I will try to do it with the material that I have prepared. So, a month ago, four of us at ANTISEZONA, having our first episode of scheduled performances at Museum of Contemporary Art cancelled, have started an online and live formats. Our intention was to create a platform of our intention was to create a platform. Our creation was to create a platform of weekly meetings where we as artists collectively can continue working in many ways. It was early. In many ways, it was early. Maybe too early for the grappling institutions and financing bodies to recognize and support this process. And also early for many of us. And also early for many of us still folding into and unfolding our survival strategies and the layers of privacy we are collectively wrapped in by the legislations made to protect us. But we keep on doing it, as on one hand, we see the urgent need to have space to talk and work through the experience of the continuously evolving changes of the world. And on the other, to keep an avenue of free space for creation, not shutting down not substituting performing art with recordings uploaded online, but making at this edge, looking at what is emerging and alive now. Through our ongoing commitment and program, we are researching the expanding of the notions of, through our ongoing commitment. What is our ongoing commitment? What is our? Through our ongoing commitments and program, we are researching and expanding the notions of performing, dancing, and collectivity. What if? That's Deborah Hay. What if? What if liveness of the performance and the involvement of embodied and kinesthetic empathy aren't limited to the physical space of the theater? We are rooting for the embodied public collectivity, asking what our ability to get present to each other here and now is. So asking what is our ability to get present to each other here and now, asking what is our ability to get present to each other here and now, instead of staying at home while all of this is gone. And my question has something to do with vulnerability in front of others and the fear surrounding that. Because I have a question about this for myself, and I feel that, like, on one hand, we are closed in our privacy, we are wrapped up in our privacy. And it's terrifying, and in some way, there's also some comfort to it. I notice both with myself and people that I speak to. And then also, on the other hand, I think that theater as a regime for, like, coming to public, but also other public spaces where the rules of how we come together are known, they are suspended. So, and then, like, we connect in other ways. And I have been, in the last month, connecting to a lot of public groups, such as teaching, such as performing, or talks after performance, or discussions, or rehearsals through this platform. And not that it wasn't there before the corona, that we could connect online, but I guess because some other public spaces are suspended, like this now has another brevity, another weight to it. And what I'm curious about is, like, what it takes to, yeah. And then I noticed that, like, sometimes, or some of us, or at some moments, we take it for granted that we connect from our private spaces to other people. And for some people, or in some instances, it's not comfortable. So it's like, it's a little bit comforting sometimes because I'm in my private space, and other times it's like very discomforting. So yeah, there's something that I'm wondering about the public space, and where is the public space at the moment, and what it takes you, whoever is going to answer this question, who took the courage to also be here in this like public space, like yeah, what it takes you to step into it from these folds of privacy, and how do you navigate that? And that question also comes from yeah, like how do we inhabit public spaces and what happens to them, and as they don't disappear, as I think that like actually nothing disappears, it's just like it has changed conditions that affect what happens. And I am also struggling a lot often with that, like how much courage does it take for me to go and speak to people or do something, teach. And sometimes I would rather stay close, and I need to close. So I'm curious to hear someone else's experience of like how, if you want to share, like what about this vulnerability and this different amount of, I'm talking for too long, different sensation of privacy and going out into public, and how do you navigate that?
You go.
Huh?
You go ahead.
For me, this really travels like through this movement all the time. Mostly, I had the need to just close and to stop with everything. Actually, I mean everything which is familiar, which makes me think that I know. So it's working and communicating, and it takes, I think now, even for 1 month of that desire and that need of that kind of space. And now I can say that it's have a movement more or less like this. Now it's something in me, it's just starting, some kind of interest is growing up. But I was really very much in what is very new for me, like some kind of new reaction of the everything that was happening around me. So, and this is maybe relate to this what I want to share, which is really like some, yeah, maybe it has some kind of vulnerability inside, or it's connected to it, like this very soft space or very fragile thing. So I will just share this quote. It's very short. It's 1 sentence, but it's very touching, let's say, for me. And when I was listening, it was really a lot of everything, and I could answer on many things. And I was searching the way how I can, because I prepare a few things, and it wasn't, like it didn't resonate with it. And now I think I can put it in, because it's like I think it will work. But just give me a second to find how to share this. Okay. Yeah, I can read it, but it's even like, yeah, it's even better that we read it for ourselves without my voice interrupted this thought. And when I read it, it really gives me this space for myself also. It's related in this direction. It's not only to everybody, I mean, to something outside, but it's also in relation to me. Yeah. This is, I will just leave as open thought. Now I don't know how to move it. Stop.
I have just a short thought which is related to social media, which before all of this, I found it very threatening, like really, oh, you know, I have to do it. I have to market. I have to sell my work, but I don't like it. I feel really, it feels dangerous. It feels threatening to me, but I have to do it. And somehow in the last like 3 weeks, I posted more on social media than in the last like 2 or 3 years. And I'm not selling it. I'm not selling myself. I'm just posting something because I'm being social. And it doesn't, I feel braver, like it doesn't feel threatening. And I find this strange that the threat was really related to this, you know, survival, professional survival and projection of self that is a performance. And I didn't want anything private. I didn't want to share private. Yeah, and it's flipped a little for now.
So I guess we went through our round. Gregor and Marco have joined us in the meantime. Hi. I kind of take it for that, like, if you wanted to say something, you will come in. Yeah, and basically we have actually thought that this talk would go for an hour and a half, and now it's going on for almost 2. And in some way, like, it's interesting that many people said that like they have answers to all, like, a lot of the questions. I also find that. So in some way, even if we didn't like continue opening some direct questions that were posed and topics which are super relevant, of like the conditions of work, the continuity of professional work, of identity, habits, changes in habits, changes in our perceptions. I kind of feel that like there was a lot of layers, like we have all been talking to each other all the time by listening. So just to acknowledge that, thank you for like keeping up the concentration. It's like a lot of talking in our heads and looking at the screen. And maybe for the third round, unless somebody really still wants to like say something or conclude something, but I would maybe propose a minute where we would just stay present with each other in any way that like you would like to do that. And I would time that minute, and I would give a sign after that. And then maybe after that minute of being together, we have a chance to say bye to each other and go to our lives, or keep on chatting if you feel like. How's that?
Super.
Great.
Super.
So
sounds nice. Let's go.
Okay.
Thank you for being with us, or thank us for being with us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe just a small announcement for next week before we say goodbye. I'm quite under impression now from the last 2 hours and the last minute of these 2 hours. But still, I would like to invite you next Saturday at the same time at 7 o'clock. We will have another online and live performance of a collective of dance authors of the youngest generation here in Zagreb. They just graduated from our Academy of Dance here in Zagreb, and they will show their piece called Nađena choreografija, meaning found choreography. So yes, please follow us and join us at 7. And then after the performance, we will have again a talk around the work. The work is something that they have been working on last year when they were still studying together. And their plan was to continue to work on that before they knew that there will be no possibility to be in physical spaces together. And now they are rehearsing it in separate spaces, and they will do an online version on Saturday, which we are really very, very happy to being able to host. Yeah. The gong was nicer at the end, but maybe Sonia, you can give another one.
Yeah, we can finish with another. This is quite nice. Yeah.
So I'm gonna give another gong, and you're free to go, and you're also free to stay and hang out with us.
Go.
You can count with me. 3, 2, 1.
Bye bye. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.